This is kindergarten, and they do tree houses. And this ties in with the science they're doing on engineering. And then, so they had to construct a tree house with the materials that we had. We had a lot of different materials. This is kind of cute. I think this one said no. This one said no girls or no boys. I can't even read that. A bunch of them had them.
Is that a STEM? Kindergarten STEM?
Yeah, this is kindergarten STEM. We talked about how would you build the problem wasn't that they built a ladder. The problem I gave them was how are they going to get up and down the tree? So some of them they had ladders, and some of them created ropes, and some of them nailed things into the tree. So it was a problem. It was an engineering problem that I was giving them. You know, I talked about, okay, it has to be where the rain can't come in. And of course, you know, they had to have a roof. They had different things that they had to incorporate in their picture, as well as other things I was teaching, because I was teaching how to draw a tree also. So that worked out really well, and we had a lot of fun building tree houses, and we got into the whole, you know, creative thing. And I was saying, you got to go home tonight and build. If you can't build a tree house, build a fort. You know, build a fort in your house. Did y'all ever build forts when you were kids? Yes. In your house, blankets, and you'd stick them over the bed, and that kind of stuff. All of that kind of stuff is really good. I mean, I use the word play all the time, but I don't use it in the sense of, oh, we're just going to play around. I use it in the sense, I'll tell the kids, you got to play with this. Like when they're working, you got to play with this, you guys. You got to come up with something really cool here. Because to me, play, when I was growing up, and as they grow up from the toddlers up, play is the place where they learn the most, I think. And so I try to keep it in that same form. Now this one I grabbed, these aren't one of my best examples, but they're okay. This was a unit where we were doing pollution and how it affects ponds and how it affects the food chains in ponds. So they did a collage on that after we were finished talking about it. This was first grade. And so this person's written in here grass shrimp, which I think is the bottom of their food chain. Yeah, I think it goes in order for dinner. And they had fish. So we did drawing skills, and there's their turtle, and we had an alligator.
How long does that take you to do?
This was probably 4 weeks. Yeah, I don't do things fast.
But you only have them 45 minutes once a week.
Yeah, I only get them once a week. So that would be it would be the equivalent of 4 lessons. I take things slow, and I'll take several grades on one in particular. This one had 4 different grades on it. Drew animals with skill, controlled colored pencils, collaged with skill, and had a pollution theme. So that's how I evaluate. So they had to think of different things they could put in the water that would be polluting, and we talked about how it affected what would happen if, you know, the fish died. You know, the shrimp would increase, there'd be more shrimp, the turtles might start to decrease, the alligators would have to eat more turtles. So we got into some really good discussions on that. So with your science, there's so many ways you can make art, you know, come and pull it together. I've got another one that I did last year that was really cool. 2 of them actually I did, 2 different ways, 2 different classes. Now this is not a kid's, and this is my sample actually that I did, because none of the kids left theirs. We did photosynthesis. And I like to just reinforce the words a lot and have them write them over and over. So they had to do a border that said photosynthesis, and then we used, for the chloroplasts, we had little cutout things, and they built leaves, and they had to do a creative sun. And, you know, they just got really creative with different parts, you know, for the photosynthesis. And anything that you're diagramming in science, you can use art, you know, to make it more lively. And again, here was another one with photosynthesis. This one was neat because it's like the stream's not. We had a stream that showed, doesn't really show on this one, but it showed the fluid coming through the veins on there as they moved it. Cool. And they have like a straw inside of there that they used. And this stuff, this is just that old copy stuff that they were going to throw out at the schools. I grabbed everything. I'm a dumpster diver. Anything I can get. Which is something too, you guys should do. Make a list of stuff you want. Buttons, beads, and send it home to your parents. I get gobs of stuff from my parents. They just send stickers and anything when they clean their closets. Lori, if I run out of time, or every time I don't want to go too long, these guys. This was a unit on bugs, and they did a collage, and they collected bugs.
That is very cool.
Put them in cages. We ran out of these. The kids all took these and painted them. I won't let them just glue stuff. If it's art, you can't. You got to do it, make it your own. So then they started making them out of pipe cleaners, and they started making their own bugs, you know, and sticking them on. And it turned out really, really cool. And then we just used cardboard, and this is falling apart. I did that like 2 years ago now. It's getting
What grade level was that?
smashed. That was 3rd grade.
Wow.
3rd grade did that. Okay, let's
How
see.
fun is that?
It's a blast. I really like it. This was a student's project on Rome. We were talking about, my tie-in was architecture. They were studying Rome. So we talked about the Corinthian columns and all the 3, the Ionic and the 3 forms. And we had pictures that we looked at. This is glue. So we had texture in it. That was one of my concepts. And then these are smashed now because I've had this for a while, but these popped out originally. So it had a little 3-dimensional effect. Cut out the pieces from the paper that we glued them on here, and they had the Colosseums, and they did a little Rome thing. This was 5th grade. This is much harder to do.
Yeah.
5th graders probably. This was a 5th grade. I like these two, like 5th graders. I had a local artist who came in and helped us with this project, and these were done by 5th graders. I didn't do these. It's pretty cool for 5th grade. Rembrandt. You could use this for explorers or something. The idea was to build we called it a monument to the individual person, so it'd be like a biography kind of thing. And I would like to see us go further, but since I had this artist lady, and she was more interested in the art aspect of it, and she was kind of leading and I didn't say it, but I think it'd been cooler if they would incorporate dates and events with fancy writing. I always talk to them about graffiti and fancy kinds of penmanship or font, and being fancy with it, but I think you could have incorporated a lot of information on this. And this is a paper bag, and we just cut them into the shape and hung paper like this, and all the stuff we could gather, and we had stamps, they stamped, and they started with this picture in the middle, not this one, each one of them had a different picture that they were studying, and they glued that on, and they started just working around it, building it. There's another one that was done. They got a little messy, but it's still, it was cool. So, we were doing paintings. That's what we were.
So if you're looking for children's literature, what kind of books do you think would be the best types to be able to use for finding these types of things that Mr. Groff is talking about? What kind of books are you going to be looking for?
Historical fiction.
Yeah.
Historical fiction,
Yeah.
your science type books,
Yeah.
social studies, history. Remember the books I showed you last week and we looked at the Golden Gate Bridge and stuff like that? Just all those kinds of things that they could draw, paint, build, those types of things to incorporate art.
Yeah. It does take a little bit more time, so you have to plan it well, but you're going to find that out. Planning is the whole thing with teaching. You got to be organized and planned. Okay, now let me show you a couple more things. This one, I brought the book. We just did this like 2 months ago. Again, that's kindergarten again. And we did Barnyard Banter. And this is my little Spanish girl. She doesn't speak English. And she didn't write her name, but she did really good. And so that's really helpful with your ESOL students. They may not know any English, but they can do art. And it becomes a way of teaching them, getting them into the English as well. So we read our story, and then we created our own roosters. We did a lot of fun things with it, making sounds and noises. But this was actually for my end of it, for the art end of it, it was texture. And we were dealing with texture. We did a lot of touching and feeling of the different textures and describing them as we worked on them. And I think one of my evaluations, we were talking about evaluating, they had to be able to tell me 5 words that describe texture, just any 5 words. And that was a part of my evaluation, because I wanted to learn to speak it, be able to say these things.
Now, how did you communicate with her to let her know what you wanted her to do?
I have a C partner who sits with